Good morning to Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. This is Tuesday morning, regular Tuesday morning happening with people who are solopreneurs and who like to work with solopreneurs. And some of us have been coming here on a regular basis, and some of us are here for the first time. So just want to, for our newcomers' benefit, I'd really like to kind of share what our principles have been. I don't do it every time, but whenever we have somebody new, I do. We all seem to buy into the following principles. It's relationships before business. That you can get everything in life and business if you help enough other people get what they want. That's a quote from somebody else. We stand for positive possibilities and keep an open mind, and we'll never try to sell anything we're not prepared to deliver impeccably. So those are kind of what the things that we stand for. I mean, there's lots of other things I'm sure we could add, but rather than go on and on. So this morning, we're really happy to have a newcomer with us who I would like to give her the opportunity to introduce herself first before everybody else. So welcome, Mayanna. How would you like to introduce our viewers to what you do and who you are?
Hello to everyone, and thank you so much for having me here. I really do appreciate that. I'm Mayanna Stevenson, and I'm the owner of Blogate, and I help non-geeks with WordPress, SEO, conversion, security, performance, and video marketing.
Right on. And before we go any further, I have to share, this is Mayanna's ebook. And how many pages? My goodness, but 45 pages.
Yeah.
Just packed with absolutely very, very useful information. So I've been into it, and I haven't read it cover to cover yet, but I'll get there. So I'm very happy to have you here, and welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, okay, so I'll start on the other end. I always go to the left-hand side, which is, I guess, when, if you're outside, would be your right-hand side. So, Craig, away you go.
Hi, my name's Craig. I have a small business called Who Marketing, and I help local businesses with their online presence and getting them online and getting people coming in their door.
Right on. Nice to have you here as usual, Craig.
Thank you.
And next in line is Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay, and I've got the giggles this morning. I don't know why, but
that's good.
Yeah, someone sent me a funny link to a niche idea, so I just cracked up on that. So, at any rate, my name is Jay, and my company is Affiliate Resources Incorporated, and I help people just like you get started in the world of affiliate marketing.
Aha. And you're here in Victoria.
I am here in YYJ, that's right, in Victoria.
Yeah. And just to step back, and Craig is in Rochester. Right.
Yeah.
And Mayanna is in
Nashville.
So,
Beautiful city. Beautiful city.
Yeah.
That would be Rochester, New York, as opposed to Rochester, Minnesota.
Oh, okay. And when I think about Nashville, I just think about music. So Nathan, you're next. Looks like Nathan maybe has.
No, I'm here. I just was in a different window. Anyway, my name is Nathan. I'm currently from Ensenada, Baja California, Mexico. My gig for years has been freelance technical writing. I'm still doing it in one way or another, and moving into a new line of business, which, whoops, showing people how to free them. I clicked on the wrong button. My God, seriously, on tech moment. Anyway, showing people how to free themselves from the thought patterns that cause suffering. This is hilarious. I haven't made a boo-boo like this in I don't know how long.
Happens to the best of us, Nathan.
Yeah, I was not paying attention to those bloody icons, you know? My God, I'm turning red here. Incredible. I can feel the heat in my face.
And even though Nathan is in Mexico, we all met, or at least I met him here in Victoria.
Yeah, we met a long time ago. You and I have
Long
history.
time ago. Yeah.
I think I met you about 15 years ago. Maybe,
yeah, at Host.
Yeah, at Host, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, and last but not least is Roland.
Quick thing, Lola, your microphone is crackling again. I don't know if it's just me hearing it.
Is anybody else having that problem? Just nod. Oh dear. Well,
it's just you. So far.
Oh. So some people are having the problems, others are not. Oh dear, dear, dear. Because we tested before we came live. Well, Roland, introduce yourself.
As Zara Altair would say, what's a hangout without a freak out? So there's always some technical thing, and 20% off the top, we're going to be missing something somewhere, either Nathan's lower third or someone else's something or other. So it's bound to happen. We have to deal with that, and sometimes you just are opted out by definition because of the hangout insufficiencies. So whatever. My name is Roland from Southern California. My company is R&D Hotline, and I run the program Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, which I'm very proud to say we have a 1-year anniversary last week, and I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. So thank you, and happy you are with us this morning. And a couple of other regulars. It looks like Carlos. He's having a breakfast meeting, so he won't be here. And a couple of the gals, I don't know what happened to them. So, Mayanna, you and I just have to hold down the female side.
Oh, I'm used to being surrounded by guys. I work in a guy's world.
Yes, I know.
I'm used to it. I tell folks that, I don't need one man. I need 10. Because they are totally different when they run in pack like that. And they are so much fun. We all laugh all day. So, yeah,
that's right on. So now that we have our introductions out of the way, I was hoping that we would have some conversation this morning about security, whether that would be online security or mobile security, and that kind of came about as a result of a little blog post that I did last week about helping my son get security onto his brand new tablet before heading for Mexico. So that's what kind of instigated the conversation about security. So I guess the first thing, I think we've all had personal experiences with things in and around security. I remember one time, this would be quite a few years ago, one of my sons was here and went to a girly site and on my computer without my knowledge and brought in all manner of things that drilled right down into below the system and created a total crash, and the long and the short of it was I had to buy a new computer as a result of that.
What? That shouldn't have caused that.
It did. It was an old computer to start with, but it was amazing. And I limped along for a while, and eventually, it was time. It was time for a new computer anyway. But so whenever one of my 3 sons comes here and sits down at my computer, you know what I say? be careful where you visit on my computer. so, anyway, anybody else have any horror stories they'd like to share before we start talking about how to prevent them?
Years ago, I got clobbered by the Klez virus. That's a long time ago now. That's about 10 or 12 years ago. And the damage was so bad that I had to take it to a computer store, and they charged me $200 to fix it. I haven't had anything like that since then, but it's pretty unpleasant. The worst thing out there, as far as I know, is ransomware, CryptoLocker. And one thing I'd like to suggest right off the top, since that's a major problem for a lot of people, highly recommend that you get access to a piece of software called CryptoLocker and install it on your computer, because if you do, it will prevent the worst of these ransomware programs if you happen to get attacked by one from taking over your machine and encrypting your hard drive and locking you out. So really very important, that one.
Oh, that's one I haven't heard of before.
Yeah, it's really important. Well, it's because I've been working for Windows Secrets that I know about this kind of stuff. I wound up writing an article to do with security and various different things. I wrote a long article about email spam and all these different problems that showed up. And the more I wrote about it, the deeper the hole got, and it was just more and more and more and more of stuff. Yeah.
So, anybody else have any other horror stories that have happened to them? I remember hearing somebody talk about having their website hacked.
Yeah.
Somebody
Me too, actually.
Crawling in the back end of their website. And there are, I'm very much aware there are some things that we can do to prevent that, and of course that is right down Mayanna's alley. So Mayanna, what I mean, if I were to ask you what's one or two things that are absolutely critical if you're new to setting up a website and so forth that you need to do?
Don't use. I don't think I narrow it down to one or two.
Okay, you don't need to if you don't.
Yeah, there's no such thing. I mean, that would be convenient, wouldn't it, if it were that easy? It's not. Hire a professional to set up your site in the first place, or do a complete site audit to check your security, and it's way past things that you can see in WordPress. It's your entire hosting installation. And that's where most of the malware and things hide, too. So I found things that no scanner will ever find. So if you haven't, don't use the one-click installation in the first place. If it's easy in, it's going to be a problem. That's really, if it's made for the end user to be easy and to be non-technical, then it's not going to be secure. That's just point blank it. Sorry, my dog Zach is joining us today. Someone knocked on the door, and he's doing his job. It's just not secure, and you need to beef it up. If you're a non-tech person, you need to hire somebody. It's that simple. I mean, it's kind of ludicrous to think that you can install your own security system in your house, too, if you're not some kind of tech or handyman or carpenter or know how to run wires and whatever. Why would you think you could do it on your site?
That's a good point.
Right, plug-ins. Or work on your car. If you're not a mechanic, why do you think you can do that? So it's kind of ludicrous to have this idea of everything needs to be free and everything needs to be easy and everything needs to be non-tech in a tech world. So it's a mindset problem. The other thing is having the big behemoth security plugins. They simply give you a false sense of security, and they're a major resource hog on your site. So sometimes they bring in more security issues themselves because of all of that too. So hang on just a second. Let me get the dog.
Yeah, she's right about those security programs. I had one a number of years ago. Slowed my computer down to a crawl, and it was so bad that I had to uninstall it completely.
Well, they did the same thing to your website. as well. So they can be a real resource. There are settings in there to make them less of a resource, but pretty much they're resource hog. I don't use them. Now, it's not just one plugin or one thing. It's a combo. And it's like talking to a mechanic. Every one of them's going to have a different combo that they use. So when you say, what's the best plugin for, the best thing is not to use a plugin, okay? But if you have to, it's still, you can't just do that in isolation. It has to be a whole combination of things that you do. Even if you're using the best security plugin, and we're talking about your site, not your computer, even if you're using the best security plugin on the planet, it's not enough. So it requires quite a bit. Now, the things, just to back off just a little bit, we'll come all the way back down to set the stage for what you can do. A couple of things that you can do is have a secure login. Make your passwords hard, really hard. Make them super, super duper hard to break. And that's everywhere. That's every account that you have. Get something like LastPass, which is a service to keep it. And you can have it on your mobile. You can access it from any of your devices for, what is it, $12 a year. And it has super, super strong passwords because that's where hackers are going to break into just about everything that you've got and every account that you've got. If there's two-step authentication, get it. It may be a little bit of a hassle, but getting a new computer or recovering your site, that's way more hassle, and all the money that you lose from those things as well. So it's really not much of a hassle when you think about the alternatives.
I cannot agree more with two-step authentication because I learned my own lesson the hard way, but I mean that's in the past. But yeah, LastPass has a two-step authentication. PayPal has it as well. A lot of these sites that you need really good security has these two-step authentications, and basically what that is, it's like you have a password on the website, and then it says, all right, we're sending you a text message. Put that text message in right away. So. But yeah, I had an entire server hacked, what's called a DDoS, on an entire server, on a hosting server where I had over 25 clients on that particular server. Everything everything got wiped out, like files wiped out. Okay, and these were not like manual HTML files; these were database-driven files. So I had to rebuild every single one of those sites because I didn't have daily backups at the time. And the way I had to find their information was using Google's web cache system. So I would have to Google their domain name. So I go site:/domain name, which lists their latest their latest pages in their index. And then there's a little arrow beside their URL that says cached version. And so there's a time limit in terms of what you can do. Otherwise, when it recaches, it'll show like that this page doesn't exist. So I was on a real tight time crunch. I was up for literally 3 days getting all of these things back in order. It was a complete utter nightmare. Since then, I have daily backups, two-step authentication. Right, human monitoring. Two guys with Uzis standing outside my server, and I certainly we learn our lessons in our own way, and I will not touch that hot stove once again. So.
Well, I want to say something about the two-step authentication. Is most of us use our cell phones. You need to lock that cell phone up like crazy.
Yes.
Protect it like crazy. So I've got a story to share with you. An accountant goes into a coffee shop, right? He uses their free Wi-Fi to answer his emails. There's a man-in-the-middle attack on that router. There's nobody actually in the coffee shop. They've got the router instead. So they've got everybody. They're watching everything that's going on with everybody using that free Wi-Fi. So he answers this email. Now they've got his email stuff and the people that he's answering. So he goes back to his office, and because they had sent him some downloads, and he plugs that phone into his computer to do a backup. Now it's in the computer, and they go through and they get all of his client stuff, and he's an accountant, so they've got all these bank numbers too. They go straight to the bank, and they spit money out the ATM machine in a way that's completely untraceable, and you would never know it if your account was hacked that way. To hack the bank, It
Right.
puts money and takes it out in a way that it's invisible to you, so you never see it. The bank does, and the banks are not required by law to tell you that your account was hacked. No financial institution is. So one guy getting coffee on free Wi-Fi
Yes.
caused all of this. So you've got to get, if you're going to go out, stay on your 3G network. Never use free Wi-Fi anywhere. Stay on your 3G or 4G network, or get a VPN service.
Well, that's one of the things that I recommended to my son. I did quite a bit of research not long ago. I tried out a couple and found the VPN service called Private Wi-Fi. It's a little bit expensive, but it certainly is worthwhile, and especially as I was advising my son, especially when you're traveling, because you're in airport lounges and bus stops and hotel and lounges and you know, all the places where all of this kind of thing can happen. So it was interesting, his reaction, because he had this brand new little tablet, and he was on his way, and I just started asking questions, and of course, you know, how does a son react when his mother knows more about something than he does? So, however, he calmed down, and we actually got him set up really, really well before he left. So, so that was one of the ones that I really recommended. And yes, you know, it's kind of expensive, but wow, I mean, especially when you're traveling, it's just so worth the peace of mind.
As long as he didn't show him up in front of his friends, and then that's okay, right?
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. Well, I want to go back to something that Jay had said about the backups. You know, that is your only security blanket, really, because anything can happen at any time, and backups are your only security blanket. But here's the thing. Here's two things about backups. One is make sure it's stored away from the original. If that's your computer, get Carbonite or something like that, store it away, or get a cloud service that it's being uploaded to in some way. Don't store it on a local hard drive. You can, but you need to have it away from you in some way. And then with your site, same thing, store it in a cloud service like Amazon S3, you know, somewhere else. Don't store it on your site, because your backups are taking backups of backups too.
Yeah.
You know, if you store them like that, so you're chewing up your room and your backups get gargantuan. But the other thing about backups, whatever service you're using, look at the restoration process. Everybody looks at the ease of how it backs up, or maybe even the ease of sending it to, you know, that off-site location. Look at how you restore it. There are actually some backup plugins that have no restoration feature whatsoever. I emailed the developers and I said, you know, I'm not seeing a way to restore this in your free version. He said, no, we don't have it. And I said, so I went and looked in their pro version. No, we don't have it. And it's like, well, then what good is the backup? And they send you to the WordPress codex about how to manually restore a database and manually restore your files.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
And it's like, well, that's kind of a worthless plugin. So always look, and it's very popular. There are 3 of them that are hugely popular, hugely recommended all over the place.
And they won't allow you to restore?
Pardon?
Go ahead.
And they won't allow you to restore from those plugins?
No, not directly, not easily. You have to, and one of them, you have to take a database backup and a full backup, so people find out the hard way. It's like, I've been taking a full backup thinking I had everything. It's like, no, you need that database one too, because you have to manually restore it.
Man, I think that's a great segue to talk about WordPress's proprietary backup system and how fundamentally rudimentary it is, you know, because it doesn't do database backups, or it doesn't images, I should say, right? The images.
What proprietary?
Maybe it's associated with, I could be wrong, but maybe it's associated with Jetpack or not. I'm not sure, but there's
the export.
Vault? Are you talking about
export? The export. No, the export feature.
Well, that's all it's for, Hans, exporting.
Right. Yeah, but
There's
there's a
no
lot of
way.
people. I realize that, but there's a lot of people that don't realize that. A lot of
Really?
people consider that as an actual backup system.
Well,
Yeah.
all it
That's
is your database. Anyway.
that's odd because in my own experience, and if I'm off base here, please tell me. But what I've been doing for getting my Word, there was a plugin I've been using on one of my WordPress sites, but what I've been typically doing if I want to make a backup is I use HostGator. I just go into the section to do with the databases, and I download every single database that I've got as a backup.
Well, databases aren't all your files.
Oh, they're not.
Oh
What
gosh,
are the
no.
rest of them?
Yeah, bye-bye to your images. You know,
Oh,
you
really?
think about,
So,
yeah. So well, your images, your upload things are in there and all the 4 things it counts, but there's tons of files that you've got that have nothing to do with your database, like the WordPress core files themselves, any of your security stuff that you've got, all
really?
that's gone. Yeah,
So how do
yeah.
you get that?
You
How do
need
you
a
download
full,
that?
yeah, you need a full backup
backup.
even outside of your WordPress directory because there's files outside of your WordPress directory that you need as well.
I can actually do that, but I haven't been doing that. I thought backing up the database
Right.
was enough. Obviously not.
Plus, you have to manually restore all that. You have to destroy everything that's there and then manually recreate it all.
Joy.
Yeah,
That's a
like
lot
I
of
said,
work.
look at the restoration of what you're doing and see if it's everything. Go do a restoration, set up a sandbox site and do it. Actually test it to see what you get.
Well, there is something within HostGator that will allow me to do a full backup as opposed to just backups of the database.
It's a cPanel backup, probably. You need to
Yeah.
check on that, which is not migration. You can't restore it. It's
Really?
for migration only.
Is there a recommended process or software that you recommend?
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Thought you'd never ask.
Yeah, y'all probably didn't read my last post of why I'm out of the recommendation business. I've been so hit on it.
did.
I've lost thousands of dollars helping developers troubleshoot something that's still buggy. And it was something that I used to
Interesting.
recommend quite a bit. So I'll tell you, I don't recommend anything. I'll tell you what I'm using now, which is VaultPress, and that could change tomorrow. So, all my recommendations come with caveats because I get whacked on the head anytime something breaks. Because, well, you recommended this. You said it was good. And I have no control over it, guys. When it goes south, it goes south. So
Interesting.
there are for the plugins, Backup Buddy was the best thing. It's no longer. I took it completely off of my recommendation list. That's the one that I lost so much money helping them troubleshoot. And to this day, it's still glitchy. It won't even run on some host. It's such a behemoth at this point. If you can get it to run, check your backups. Make sure that they're actually making. Make sure that they're actually going to your remote storage. And make sure that you actually test it once in a while. Don't rely on it thinking, oh, it's good. Actually set up a sandbox or pay somebody to actually use that migration backup that you know how to restore it and actually test it to make sure that it works. Don't test it. Don't replace your live site. Go do this on a sandbox somewhere and restore your site. The rest of them, I don't think there are too many plugins that are worthwhile. Updraft seems to be very popular. Again, go look at the restoration of that. It also leaves log files that I think I took out 4 gigabyte of log files out of somebody's site during an audit. So, that's something you're not seeing. Yes, I'm sending my backups far, far away. Well, these log files, and there's no way to turn them off. They're chewing things up. 4 gigabytes we took out.
Wow.
Because they've been using it. Yeah, for a long time they've been using it. You might, some folks want to do a daily backup, which I recommend, but get the whole thing because you can unless you have a transactional site. Now, if you have transactional, like a membership or a store or something like that, you need to be doing incremental backups like constantly for that minimum daily. And you can do just your database for daily and then get a full backup later. But you need to be backing up. The frequency of your backups needs to match how often your site changes. You don't have to do daily if your site's not changing radically daily because that's all you're going to lose. So if you're blogging 2 or 3 times a weekly full backup's going to get it. Don't even worry about a database backup because here's the reality of that. When you need your backup, you're going to need the whole thing. You're not even
Yeah.
going to need that. Why are you taking a database backup? You don't even need it. Run that puppy at off-peak hours because it is a load. I use VaultPress. I've got all of my VIP clients on VaultPress as well because I can't afford Backup Buddy. The thousands of dollars that I lost in troubleshooting with that, I bought everybody VaultPress with that. You know what I'm saying? And then some. I could have pocketed a lot of money if I just bought everybody VaultPress.
So, Mayanna, is it Vault, V-A-U-L-T?
Yes, and it's made by Automatic, same people that make WordPress. There's
VaultPress.
also Blog Vault, and it's a little pricier, but you get a little more. With the VaultPress, there is they have several packages, but the one that I've got me and everybody else on is the 55 a year. It's $5 a month or 55 a year, and it only holds the backup for 30 days. So you do need to be in your site and checking on your site. You know, like Jay said, he's looking at it all the time. He's got human people looking at it, not just relying on scanners and that kind of thing. Because after 30 days, you know, you don't have a good backup. You might want to download those backups once in a while too. But again, you need to look at how that's restored before you decide to go that route, because it doesn't get the core WordPress files. You have to set all that up yourself, and you know, so it's not necessarily a one-click restore either.
Yeah, I think that's something when you're looking at hosting programs for your websites. That's something when you're shopping for hosting programs. Do they offer an upgrade for human monitoring? You know, like where they actually monitor and look for spikes in traffic or any kind of anomalies within your traffic and within your site. You know, because to me, I think that's, even if it's an additional $20, $40, $50 a month, to me that's totally worth it. It's hiring staff to make sure that your business is running, your online business is running effectively. Do not underestimate that.
Yes, but yes, it's worth it. I teach people how to do that for themselves. I have DIY site owners, and it's not hard. And it's hard if you don't know what you're doing. But it's very simple. If you have something like Control Panel, cPanel, which is a brand name of Control Panel, it's very easy for you to look in AWS stats as long as you know what you're looking for. And that's what I do with site audits all the time, is I give them the screenshots of that baseline. We talk about it. They understand what they're looking at, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this makes sense. I mean, they don't know it all in depth in the tech side of it. It doesn't matter. They don't need to. They know what numbers to look at and measure by. And that's all they need to know, and they can go check anytime. But you're right. When you start seeing spikes and stuff, you're getting a bot attack from some direction. And that's one of the things that you have to, that's why I do site security and performance, because they're hand in hand. So, you know, when you're having your system resources eat up with these things like bots, even if you're not under a DDoS attack, you can still be having your account chewed up with bots, because you don't have any sort of protection on your login page. And they're trying and get knocked out and trying and get knocked out. Well, 10,000 hits of that. I have one client that had over 1 million hits a month.
Oh, my word.
I know. Most are in the 30 and 40,000 range a month.
Mayanna, I'm very curious about your site audit. Would you talk a little bit about what you do, and how you interact with a new client?
Okay.
So walk us through that process so that we get some sense, and give us some idea of the cost of that, because again, this group is solo entrepreneurs.
Right. Okay, well, let's start. I'm going to go a little bit backwards. Let's start with cost. I saved one of my clients $2,400 a year in hosting.
Wow.
So, you know, I saved another client $1,500 a month for what she was losing because of the way things were. I have made other clients thousands of dollars a month by fixing all the stuff that was slow and wrong and killing their site and their traffic and that kind of thing. So when you talk about cost, it's peanuts, you know. So I mean, it's worth it to put it in perspective, because otherwise you have no idea of value. if I say that a coffee cup is $400, then you're like, for a coffee cup, I can get one at Goodwill for 10 cents. It has no value to you, so I need to preface that with the value of it, and ask any of my clients what it's worth. It's priceless to them. Okay, so I have 3 levels of audits. The first one, the bronze level, is where we do it live. That's the most expensive, and the reason why is because we have to go more slowly, and I'm charging by the hour, literally. And that's going to be in my hourly tech rate, and those prices are going up right after Black Friday. So I know this may be something that people go back and look at and whatever, but prices are definitely going up because I'm way too cheap for that. But I look at it with you. We do that screen share that we talked about earlier in the green room. And you see what I see, but we can't go as deep because it gets too expensive for that. But it's mainly looking at base level security, a little bit beyond if they have control panel, where we can look at their files beyond their WordPress installation. We take a quick look at those. But mainly it's sorting out plugins, performance issues, resource hogs, those kinds of things. And that's about as far as we can go in that. But people want to chat about that with plugins. Which one is best, which ones are conflicting, which ones are resource hogs, getting recommendations. So it has its purpose in that alone. The next level up is silver, and I do that on my own and give you a report. But I don't go as deep. So I'm checking everything with your files all the way through, finding things that scanners will never find, security scanners are never going to find. I'm checking your root files. I'm checking things like AWS stats that we mentioned. I'm checking your performance. I'm checking the security. I check everything but your database and SEO, and I only do it on a blog post. Most people check performance on their homepage. If you're doing your content marketing well, most of your traffic is coming in through your blog posts. Those are the things that need to be optimized most. And they're usually the biggest drags, believe it or not, because of all the junk people put in their sidebars. With the gold audit, I go through the whole thing. I mean, I go into your database, look at the health of that, go into the SEO of it, and I check more of your site for performance and that kind of thing. I just stopped short of doing content audits and respond. What the viewer sees. I spend about, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes in your site, and I never look at the front of it. I don't ever see it like a viewer sees it.
Right.
So it's all the background stuff. And we find tons of things. I mean, like one yesterday, as a matter of fact, found malware all over it. She never knew it was there.
Oh, my goodness.
Base 64 malware.
Oh, wow.
No
so you have a
scanner.
Gold and a silver. Is there another one, or is it
The bronze?
just...
The bronze one is we do it live and don't go as deep. It's more about plugins and really super baseline security. And then silver and gold are the ones that I do. The gold one, I'll probably produce about a 30 to 40 page report on it. And then we have an hour to 2 hour chat afterward to go over it. So it's not all geek speed. I give it to you to preview, and so you can recognize some of the things that, I knew I was having problems with that. See, this confirms it, it's those kinds of things. But the rest of it's going to be geek speak. It's not after that chat, and so it is really an education that's priceless to get that. Because here's the thing, I want you to be able to DIY it after this. Your security stays good, your performance stays good, and you question now about adding that plugin. You go vet it in a whole other way, not just looking at fashion. You're looking at function and what else do I have on my site. You're more in touch with your site. The clients that this does no good with, literally, are the ones who just throw money at it, who completely outsource everything. They don't want to know what's going on. The clients that I can help the most are the ones who used to do that and just stayed out of it, and we go in and find all the junk that people did. Like I said, I saved one client $1,500 from the junk other people, she was about to hire other people to do. She came in and got a site audit prior to that, and we fixed a bunch of issues. She didn't even need them anymore. And what they had advised doing was not going to fix it either. It was actually going to make it worse. So it's hard to vet if you don't know. You need to get in the know. So it's not just the audit and fixing those things. It's getting the client educated so they can properly DIY the site and everything's happy.
Yeah, right on. So, and you haven't mentioned it, but I will. I've noticed that you do a regular blog with updates on things that you know about WordPress, etc. So, and I went to that was the other thing. I went to your website and I went, oh my goodness, there's just so much here. Oh wow.
And it's about to expand. I'm either going to expand into vlogging video things, or I'm going to split the site into a new business. So yeah, it's getting bigger. It's getting even bigger.
Yeah. So, and of course, we could sit here and talk about all your blab stuff, but that's off the topic, and
yes,
it's a topic for another day. But so I'm just kind of I'm missing my my clock here. I'm just kind of we've been sort of concentrating on the back end of our websites, but I'm wondering if in terms of just our computers, I mean, we talked about LastPass as being one of the most important things, but I'm wondering about our, just the computer. What does everybody use for security in that regard?
My security system is called Mac.
Yeah, don't blame you.
I knew you were going to say that.
They have viruses too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've noticed that one of the I have a little security program that was provided by my bank, and it gives you a weekly report. And before I went to Windows 10, that report would come up and I would see some things that it blocked and so forth. Since I got the Windows 10, I've noticed that there's never anything in that report. So I thought that was kind of an interesting observation. But and then whenever something seems to be sort of running in a really, really wonky way, I run something else, and I'm just looking for the name of it now because I forget it, that my IT guy recommended, and I run that, and it identifies all kinds of things, and I'm able to get rid of it, and quite often that will clear up the problem, whatever the problem happens to be. It's usually sometimes something that's in there hogging your system or doing something. So
yeah, on my PCs I use Kaspersky, and that seems to be
Yep, know that one for sure.
Yeah.
Spell it for me.
With a K.
Kaspersky.
Kaspersky. Kasperski. Kaspersky. I've gone back and forth between Kaspersky and Norton. I personally found Norton to be a little bit of a bandwidth, or sorry, a resource hog.
They really are.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't use it. I don't like Norton.
Yeah, Norton, McAfee, all those. I don't do those. I do Malware Bytes, anti-malware. Yep. That finds a ton of stuff, and then SpyBot, because those are tried and true. They've been around for 100 years, and they each test a little differently. And I run the Malware Bytes first, and then SpyBot, and that seems to be the most effective.
SpyBite is the one that I'm actually I have both of those on my system.
Right, and then run a CC cleaner once in a while to clean out the registry
I was just about to mention that one. Yeah, CC cleaner. It's another one if you want an all-in-one, and it's kind of iffy as to whether it's as great as it is or not. But that's Advanced System Care, and it's okay in some ways, but it has a tendency to install other programs, and you have to uninstall them. One of them is, I'm trying to remember what it is, Drive drive something. I forget what it's called, but it has a tendency to want to give you new drivers, and that can be really problematic from what I've seen.
Right. What about for your browsers? You know, have browsers gotten to where they just have it inbuilt? Because I'm seeing a lot of things pop up now from Firefox that it has a lot of it inbuilt into Firefox, and Chrome is doing the same thing, that you don't have to get an external something or other. The browser itself has it now.
And I think that's why a lot of people recently have been complaining about how these browsers have been performing slow. You know, it's because these things are in the background working as you're surfing, and when you start getting like 10, 15 tabs running all at the same time in the background, all of these things are working, and all of a sudden your CPU resources are getting spiked as a result of that. So
I just went into my settings the other day too and checked for that very thing, and it had on my laptop, it had wiped out the clear type font thing, and all my fonts were doing. And I was like, what? And so, you know, I was like, what is it? All pixelated font stuff. I was like, boy, I know my eyes aren't this bad, you know. So I was checking on that, and I saw a box for it about loading, that doesn't load up anything or do anything in the background for all of those tabs, because the tab is not active. It doesn't become active until you click on it, and then it brings up the background process. But I don't know if that was checked or not. You know, these browsers just update in the background all the time. We don't even know what's going on with them.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned about the
a lot, and they have this browser helper object with different programs. When you one of the major problems is if you download some of these programs, free programs, and because I've been a reviewer, I download a lot of this stuff, and every now and then, like one guy was complaining, oh, the program did this. Well, he downloaded the wrong thing, and he wound up with a major attack and browser. What the hell do they call it? Like browser helper object, but he wound up with a browser hijack thing, and he was having all sorts of trouble dealing with that. And that's happened to me, and I've had to go back and delete a whole bunch of programs, go through the programs directory, and these things happen. And like some of the installations, like McAfee and things from some of these sites, are notorious for having all this sort of stuff piggybacked on the installation, and if you're not careful and you just go through it, you wind up with a whole bunch of crapware that you never
Adobe
intended to
Flash.
install.
Adobe Flash is the
Adobe
same way.
Flash is notorious for it.
A couple of things before, I know we're getting short on time here, and I want to mention a couple of other things to think about. The Internet of Things, and that's going to be your Wi-Fi router, your TV, and what made me think of it was downloading apps on the TV. It'll come right through there. Make sure that your TV, if you have a smart TV, it stays updated. I know that update thing is a pain in the butt. Just do it. Same thing for your Wi-Fi router. You probably need to go out and check with the manufacturer to make sure that you have the latest update, because it won't necessarily update itself. Windows 10 has some issues with that as well. Your home security system, you know, I can control my house from my phone, and so can anybody driving down the street. You know, no way am I putting my home security on the internet. You got a camera you can look at, so can a hacker. No, don't do it. You know, your refrigerator, if it has a smart refrigerator, whatever it is, that smart stuff is part of the Internet of Things, and that is the biggest hacker fodder that there is, because in these DDoS attacks, they need to grab up a bunch of computers and all go block something, you know, overwhelm it. That's what a DDoS attack, it's a distributed denial of service, and they just gang up. Well, there's amplified attacks now where one guy can, with one computer, can act like 100 computers, and then those can act like 100, and all of a sudden, one person. That's why they were doing these hacks, guys, is to get a hold of your computer to use it in another attack. Not only to steal your personal information, they may not steal anything. They may never want you to know that they're there. They use your hosting for the same thing. They get into your host account through your site. They go right through the back door to the server, and they use that to launch a DDoS attack. So it's not necessarily about anything that you would see. They may not want to take you down. They may not even be after your personal information. They want to use your equipment. And the Internet of Things, oh yeah, they'll love throwing that refrigerator at something. You know.
Software can be updated automatically, whereas in most cases, firmware cannot be updated automatically because it doesn't really have access to the internet. Firmware is basically software that runs the actual hardware, right? I mean, for the lack of a better term. So you know, as she was saying with the router, right? I think it's very important to go and check your router once in a while because routers often have a lot of firmware updates, you know. So and same with cable boxes and whatnot, you know. So it's ideal to manually go to the internet, type in your version of your, you know, whatever unit you're wanting to update your router and making sure that it's, you know, it's updated. In most cases, when you log into your router, it tells you what version of firmware you're running on that router. So you can just literally Google that router name and the firmware version, and you should be able to find some sort of update if an update is needed. So thank you for mentioning. I think that's really important with firmware.
Well, all of this geek speak, and you guys are much more geeky than I am, and my friends all tell me I'm really geeky. But all of this really only draws the conclusion that as solo entrepreneurs, we do need the services of specialists.
Yeah.
We need to understand what they're doing, but we need the services, and which is why I'm looking for an IT guy, local IT guy, to come, and that's part of the reason why I really like that person to come and sit down with me in front of my stuff, and we actually go through cleaning things up, looking at this, changing that, making things more efficient. And I can't recommend that more highly because I have learned so much from that process.
Education is the key, and you know, I don't even do my own computer stuff anymore. I mean, I started out, I was an electronics engineer for 30 years, and I started on mainframes back when you could walk inside them. So, you know, I've seen it all the way through, and I built my own computers for the longest time. I don't even fool with it anymore, and here's why. Because, I mean, I do the general maintenance stuff, but when it comes to really cleaning things out, I outsource that to my IT people for the same reason. It's a specialist thing now. Even for hacked sites, I have a world-class hack specialist on my team because hacks are a very specific specialty as well, and it's impossible for any one person to keep up with everything. But the projection of people is, hey, can you go fix my VCR too? Back in the day, you know, if you work on a computer, you can work on a VCR. It's not the same thing. It's like having your plumber work on your car. You know, they're very much specialties now, or like going to a general internist compared to a heart surgeon. They're very much specialties now. But the projections of non-geek people is that, well, if you know this, you know it all, and that's just not true or fair.
So it's true. So we really need to find the specialists and make use of them as solo entrepreneurs. The other specialist that I recommend is having an IT coach. I do my own website, but when I get really stuck, he's there. And I get advice from him, and he saved my bacon many times. But that goes for lots of other things over and above electronics, for sure. We need accountants and etc. So, yeah, we're just about out of time this morning, and I really want to thank Mayanna for dropping by, and I encourage people out there who are watching to visit her site and download her ebook. It's just amazing.
That's the basics of what you need to know as a site owner.
Yeah.
It saves you a lot of money and frustration and heartache.
Yeah, and I mean, I download a lot of ebooks in the course of my life, but this is one that I'll just kind of keep on the side as a reference to go back to.
Right.
So I thank you for that.
You're welcome. And it's free.
Yes, absolutely. But I do encourage people to go and sign up for her regular blog posts as well. So just before we close, Roland, we haven't heard a word from you this morning. You're sitting there taking it all in. What's your observation? We need to all say goodbye in some way. So would you like to say goodbye and say what was really important for you?
Yes, I'll tell you exactly what was really important. An accountant goes into a coffee shop. Yeah. No, when Mariana steps into the hangout, whether I'm an observer or if I ever get the chance to be a panel member, I go into mute mode because I'm going to learn more from being there than anything that I could possibly try to express. So, am I a good WordPress guy? Pretty good. Yeah, but when Mariana walks into the room, all I can do is turn into a student because she's really the resource that I follow the most.
Right
thank
on.
you very much.
Yeah.
Nathan, how about you? What any parting words?
Not so much. No. I mean, the thing about the backups was what really got my attention. I wasn't aware of that, and that was an unpleasant surprise, but better to find out now than later.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done
Absolutely.
backups and WordPress backup restore and stuff like that, installations from scratch and stuff like that, but I wasn't aware of this whole thing to do with backups, and that's something I need to do a bit of research on.
And I do want to interject that I have a webmaster training program about WordPress installation, security, and performance, and a little bit on SEO. It's 76 videos, and I offer it to VAs and designers and people who are setting up sites to make sure that they're setting them up securely. And just the setup, I think there's 25 videos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, my setup is relatively simple. I was just using the WordPress installation for installing it from scratch as opposed to the one click.
And I don't care what security. Yeah, I don't care what security measures you've taken after that. I guarantee I can hack your site.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. I know the WordPress. Well, it doesn't surprise me, not in the slightest bit, because I'm well aware of the issues to do with the WordPress sites and how easily they can be hacked. I mean, the bottom line, my understanding is any site can be hacked, and it doesn't matter how much security you've got.
That's right, but with that baseline security you just make, I mean, that one-click installation, if you don't do anything beyond that, you just made it so much easier. So that is correct.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, and Jay, how about you? Any parting items that you would like to?
Well, it's one thing I know is to not let your children check out girly things on your computer. So. Beyond that,
since I don't have children,
these children I'm talking about are men now.
Says you.
Well, I have two boys who are only 6 and 9, so I've got a little bit of time. But it's good to see that I'm on target with the security protocols that I'm following for my own site, my own hardware, my own firmware, and my clients' sites and the hosting server that I utilize there. So it's good reassurance that good security is in my wheelhouse. So I'm happy with that.
Right on. Thank you, Jay. And Craig, not last but not least.
I have to mirror what Roland said. I feel like a rank novice when it comes to this stuff. I come from a factory automation background, and the way that they kept their equipment secure, or the way we kept the equipment secure, was to keep it off of the internet altogether. And it started to become a problem because we were starting to get equipment that was on these assembly lines that are making stuff that were internet enabled, and having stuff that is internet enabled when you've got lasers firing, and anytime you change a movement by 2 millimeters, things crash and break. causing thousands of dollars worth of damage, you probably want to make sure that you don't have a way to get on the internet.
It's always scary when you involve lasers. Absolutely.
Been there, done that, worked on them.
I hear you.
Most of what I did was in the factory automation, servicing those things. Yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, so you know, this is a whole nother aspect of the world, but you know.
Yeah, right.
When Deanna speaks, I listen.
Well, and I might say I'm obviously going to need to go back and re-listen, but I picked up several little tips that I didn't know. But one in particular about checking your router. That was something that I haven't done, and has made me think that I really need to.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation about the backups. I do have a backup service, but finding out whether it's going to be easy to reinstall is a major upgrade. So thank you for that. So it's time now to wrap up today's conversation. It's been a very lively one, and I really want to again thank Mayanna for joining us. It's been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll I just want to remind everyone out there listening to be sure to come to the Being Your Own CEO community and participate in the conversations there. And if YouTube is your pleasure, please go and subscribe to my channel. So this is Lowell Ann signing off for this week. And thanks everyone for joining.